About Project Safe Start right now. It's a partnership with ministers and community members. Right after this event, we're going to take a little break, and then Superintendent Miles will address general questions from you, right? Chief Garner?
And I'd like to start off by saying I'll have opening remarks, followed by me will be Executive Assistant Chief Larry Satterwhite of the Houston Police Department. Followed by him will be Pastor F.M. Williams with the Houston Area Ministers Against Crime. So hello, I am Shamira Garner, Chief of Police, Houston Independent School District, and on behalf of Superintendent Miles and the Houston Independent School District, we are here to announce the launch of the 2023-2024 school year Project Safe Start program. We are here with our partners in this initiative, as you can see, fellow law enforcement officers, as well as the Ministers Against Crime, including Houston Police Department and the Harris County Sheriff's Office. We are joined here to represent our collective commitment to students, staff, and to our community. Project Safe Start started well over 20 years ago, and it exemplifies the adage that it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to keep children safe. Here is our village. These faith-based leaders will walk the halls of our schools to reinforce good behavior and good decision-making. Additionally, law enforcement will be visible to help ensure students and staff have a safe start to the school year. Project Safe Start is an excellent example of law enforcement partners being force multipliers, helping to ensure HISD continues to be a district where students feel safe to learn, employees feel safe to work, and the community have confidence in the safety of our district. Now I'll turn it over to Executive Assistant Chief Larry Satterwhite of the Houston Police Department for his remarks.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chief Garner, Pastor Williams, and the Ministers Against Crime, Superintendent Miles, and to all the parents and to all the kids, thank you for having us and for us being here. So we all want the same thing. We want our kids to be able to go to school next week and be safe in going to school next week. We want our parents to know that their kids are safe. We want our teachers to be safe. And we want everybody involved to be focused on an education for our kids, which is the most important thing. They are our future. And not to be worried about their safety, whether or not something might befall them. So that's our job next week. And in that regard, in that effort, we will be at the schools or near the schools. We have a lot of schools, but we have a lot of officers dedicated to this. And we'll have officers in HPD backing up Houston Independent School District Police, along with the Sheriff's Department. We'll be backing them up too, so that every school will have at least some officer, have an officer either committed to them there or close by, with that being their mission for anything that might happen, any kind of call that might occur at or near the school, that our officers can respond very quickly and deal with that and ensure that there's nothing else or nothing worse would happen to any kid. So that is our commitment, and I thank everybody for their partnership in this effort, and on that, I will turn it back over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, again, opening remarks from Pastor F.M. Williams.
Okay. Don't laugh because I don't hear too well. But I'm 95 years old, and I've had the pleasure of working with all of these departments to be sure that our children and our teachers are safe. This program, Safe Start, was initiated by the late Reverend Robert Jefferson, who came to Houston Ministers Against Crime meeting and said, we got to do something for our children. We started Safe Start, and we have been successful to say we have not lost really a child involved really with the school situation. I want to thank the officers. I want to thank all of the departments that come to make sure that our parents and our children and our teachers are saved. I am pleading with the parents to be sure that you parent your child before he goes to school. Be sure that that is done. Then I'm asking every believer in Jesus Christ, every believer in whoever you believe in, pray that God, that they give our children, our schools here in Houston, Texas, an A rating when this situation is over. God bless you and God keep you. Thank you for my followers here today. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming out, and I'm sorry, I would be remiss if I did not thank the leadership here at Madison High School for allowing us to use their facility to announce Project Safe Start, which will begin next week, first day of school, Monday, and throughout that upcoming week. Again, our focus is our children, their safety, and the partnership that you see readily accessible here between law enforcement, community stakeholders, and people of faith. So now we'll go ahead and take a break, and Superintendent Miles will be available for any type of questions you may have. Thank you. Yes, sir.
All of the members of HMAC will be assigned to major schools in the school system. Their presence will be there to be sure that everything goes well. Pray for us. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and now we'll have a Spanish interpretation.
Buenas tardes, yo soy el comandante Héctor García con el Departamento de Policía de Houston. A nombre de todos los presentes, estamos en asociación aquí para el proyecto de un inicio seguro o de un comienzo seguro, que es referente al comienzo del año escolar. Va a empezar este lunes y queremos decirle a la comunidad y a los padres de familia que estamos aquí para mantener a sus hijos, a nuestros estudiantes seguros y salvos mientras vienen a la escuela para aprender. Estamos aquí con policías del Distrito Escolar de Houston, con miembros del Departamento del Condado de Harris, del Departamento de Sheriff y obviamente los policías que estamos aquí presentes del Departamento de Policía de Houston, todos unidos para que este sea un año escolar de beneficio para todos los estudiantes, para la comunidad, para los padres, en general para mantener a los estudiantes que aprendan en un ambiente seguro, salvos y sanos. Gracias.
Thank you very much. And again, we'll take a quick break, and then Superintendent Miles will be available for a presser.
First of all, great project, long-time project Safe Start, greatest collaboration between community, school, police department. I think that's wonderful. That's the way it should be, especially when it comes to safety. It's all in, and I really respect both the ministers, the pastors, the police officers from both departments. Thank you. And just as a point of personal privilege, you may not have gotten the word that last week Chief Gardner was sworn in as the Chief of Police, the first woman Chief of Police in the history of HISD. And it's well deserved. She's doing a great job, and I hope you get to know her story more. But right now I want to talk about some of the things you want to talk about. I'll start with our preparation for the first day of school. That's coming up. Lots of excitement, anticipation from everybody, especially the staff, the teachers, and the kids. When I was a kid, couldn't wait to get back to school. And so I suspect that's the way it is with most kids. And parents couldn't wait to get their kids back to school. So we got a lot of expectations out there. What have we been doing? And what are some of the key points I can talk about? I'm sure I'll get some questions about it too. Number one, we've been working on getting the vacancies down to zero, and I'm excited to report that we are down to 0 vacancies, 0 teacher vacancies, including special education certified teachers. My staff would be applauding that because that's a huge feat. Across the country, yeah, back there. Across the country, you know that's been a challenge, and I don't think there's any large district in Texas that's been able to do that. A lot of work, and the credit goes to our principals and our division superintendents first. They put the emphasis on it, and they just started to get to work on it. And then, of course, our HR department gets a lot of the credit too. So we should be very proud of our principals and our division superintendents. If you're not an educator, you may not know what that really means for a school district, for kids in schools. To have 0 vacancies, to have a teacher that's assigned to that classroom at the beginning of the year, and not to have any vacancies. Just by way of comparison, there were 644 vacancies last year at the start of the school year. Now, obviously, it's a big district, 11,400 and some teachers. So there's going to be some churn, some movement on any given day. So we'll have a little bit of variability as time goes on. But right now we have 0 vacancies. We're very happy about that as we start school on Monday. Bus transportation, been working on that. You all know that it's a system that needs repair. I don't think I'm being uncharitable by saying that. It's a system that needs repairing. That's been one of the challenges. I've gotten lots of complaints this summer about past transportation issues and what we're doing about it. We did not try to fix that system over the summer. It would have been really tough to put in a new system or to change a whole bunch of routes and things like that over the summer, so we didn't. And you know that when we reorganized the district, that reorganization, we did a lot in central office, but we didn't do a lot in the chief operations office because we were moving kids during the summer, transporting kids, fixing buildings, things like that. Transportation, I've been out to 2 of the 4 terminals and looked at their preparation. They've been running routes this week. They'll run a route on Saturday. There are 507 routes, so they will do a dry run, is what I'm saying. They've done it this week, and they'll do one Saturday, Sunday if we need to, so that we get the buses running on time. We've improved some of the systems in there, but we've got a long way to go in improving the systems there. However, we do have enough bus drivers. We don't have any bus driver vacancies. We only have 5% overage, so that's not good, meaning if more than 5% of the bus drivers are absent, then we'll have some shortages. But right now, we don't expect that to happen. We put in some incentives for attendance. So we think on the first day of school, and hopefully every day after that, we're going to have the routes running and dropped off, and the kids dropped off on time in the beginning of the day, dropped off at home at the end of the day on time. We have some clear metrics around that, but parents should see an improvement around that. HVAC systems have always been a challenge. Our rooftop units, air conditioning. And right now we're ready to go. However, it's harder than most beginning of the years. So we're putting in place a lot of redundancies and trying to improve that system too. For example, in many places we know have been perennially hot year after year. So the schools. And some of our schools with low airflow. We couldn't change that overnight over the summer, but we're putting more water, more ice in those schools. We're getting temporary coolers ready to go, fans ready to go just in case it gets too hot. Now, this has been a hotter start to the school year, but still we're getting that ready. So you've had a lot of people working really hard over the summer to try to get ready for August 28th. And they're doing a phenomenal job. Big area is the quality of instruction. What's happening in the schools, especially in the NES, New Education System schools, and the NESA, New Education System Aligned schools. We've talked about that quite a bit over the summer. We want good quality instruction all over the district, so there's been training, not just in the NES, and NESA schools, there's been a lot of training, principal training, teacher training across the district. There has been a particular focus, additional training for NES and NESA. That's for sure. We've taken the principals, for example, of the NES and NESA schools out to Ector to look at the new education system in practice. We've done a lot of training with the teachers. For example, Thursday was what we call a demo day, demonstration day, demo day. And all NES and NESA teachers taught their first lesson, or one of their first lessons, to their colleagues. And they did the rotation. They used the equipment, they used the curriculum, they used the differentiated assignments, the demonstration of learning. All of those things happen on Thursday, so teachers feel better prepared. You can ask actually the principal here about Miss Lee over here, the principal. She had a demo day, and so if you get a chance, you might want to ask her how her day went, or some of the teachers. That was Thursday. So we want high quality instruction even on day one. High quality instruction is not the enemy of enthusiasm or fun. Okay? So just because the kids are learning does not mean they won't have fun on the first day of school. But that's our expectation across the district, not just NES and NESA. So that's been going on, and I'm sure you'll have some other questions here. Let me just wrap up with my remarks with three messages. One, first to students. If any students are out there or parents of the students can communicate, it's exciting to get back to school. And we want you to carry that enthusiasm throughout the year. But we're also going to challenge you and raise expectations. And we know you can meet them. We know if we raise them, you'll meet them. And we want you to work hard as well as have fun. So maintain that enthusiasm. Be curious. We're going to help. We're going to provide you with high-quality teachers, a teacher in every room. So we hope you have a great year, great first day, great first week, great first month, and then carry that through the rest of the year. For parents, the Project Safe Start is the right backdrop, because I know most parents, the biggest thing on your mind and the biggest commitment from us is that we have to keep your kid safe. And I want you to know that we have a lot of fine officers, and we've been practicing our security for all of our schools, and we're going to keep your child safe. Beyond that, I know that you want highly effective teachers. You know, most parents that I know don't care that much about central office and the superintendent. They care about their teacher, the child that is, the teacher that's standing in front of their child, and they care about the principal, and they care about the school. And so we're doing our best to make sure we have teachers in the classroom and effective teachers giving your students high quality instruction. And we want that from day one and every day after that. In return, we need just two things from parents. Parents, we need you to get your kid to school on time or to the bus stop on time. And then the second thing is we hope that you will ask your child how their day was, but more specific than that, not just an open-ended question like that, but something related to the instruction. You know, what did you learn in science? What did you learn in math class? You know, was that rigorous enough? Those kind of questions for your child after school. That's it. Those two things is what we hope you'll do. And then the teachers. You know, I know there's been a lot of concern. There's been a lot of change, or at least in the NES and NESA school. But there's been a lot of information out there that affects teachers. And so with any intervention, with any set of changes, there's going to be some anxiety. That is understandable. And I think, as a change agent, I know that people go one of two ways usually, right? They'll either gravitate to their worst fears or to their best hopes. And the onus is on us. I know this summer, with teachers not being around and with a lot of other information out there, they may not know which way they want to go yet. I'm hoping that your principals and your leadership teams will help you gravitate to your best hopes. I hope you start with that intent, that you give them some grace and say, you know, this is going to be okay. And then I hope you teach like great champions in the classroom. I want you to have fun. Teaching can be fun, is fun. But in the back of your mind too, and I think it's fair to say, I hope you have a sense of urgency as well. I have said all summer, this is the last generation of students in school before the skills gap is locked in. I mean that, and so that makes our job even more urgent. So do well for our kids. We will support you. We're going to ensure that you have the best leadership possible, and let's have a good school year. With that, let me take questions. And do you want to guide that?
Yeah, please let me know if you have a question before you ask. Jason.
Superintendent Jason Miles, KHOU. Did a story yesterday on a number of principals being dismissed just days before the new school year or reassigned. We didn't get exact clarity on that. And Mr. Cordova at Memorial Elementary today posting to parents that he is apparently leaving as well. Why the decision so close to the new school year? And is it because they didn't want to join the NES program?
Yeah, I think there were two principals, and I think this might, I don't know about the one you're talking about there. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about individual decisions. I think it's their personal decisions. I don't know for sure. Definitely not related to NES. A number of you were in the room when we talked about the new education system aligned schools and whether or not schools wanted to volunteer. In fact, if you know the real story, I think I've communicated before, it was great that 57 people stepped up, or schools, and wanted to be in the NES schools. We had some trepidation around that because that's a lot of schools. I mean, think about what we've had to do over the summer. 28 would have been already a lot, 10% of the district. We didn't say no to the 57. Some of the members of my team wanted to say, we can't do 57 more. So there was nothing related to, if you didn't want to be in NES, that was fine.
Thanks, Superintendent Miles. So you were mentioning preparation for instruction. I think it's a big part of all of this, including literacy and early literacy. Can you detail what sort of trainings teachers had in the new Amplify curriculum? These are NES and NES aligned teachers, specifically like how many hours and what sort of what things were they learning?
I don't know if I have the detail to that level. My chief economic officer would know, but I can tell you some things. We've been working hard this summer to put together the curriculum that we talked about related to Amplify when we talk about reading. Amplify is a reading or ELA curriculum. And so that's our base curriculum for ELA, English Language Arts Reading. And so we've been preparing all these lessons, and today, some of you will get a chance to actually go into school and see this thing, the repository for the curriculum. And we've been training our teachers on how to get to that repository and what the various pieces mean. Meaning this, you can go on a platform called Canvas, and if you go there and you're a fourth grade math teacher, you go to elementary school, fourth grade, math, you open it up and it has lots of lessons already planned out. It has the demonstration of learning, it has a PowerPoint, the presentation, it has the LSAE. So we've been doing that level of training for the teachers and making sure they have access to that and know how to get access. On top of that, at the NRG Center, we had several days, not for each teacher, but several days, and teachers I think had to attend 8 hours or something like that, 2 half days, of training on Amplify curriculum. And both the NES and NESA schools teachers who are teaching science of reading, and the non-NES schools had to go through this curriculum training. So there's been a lot of training. Look, it takes more than just a session at the school, at a conference session, to learn how to do, how to deliver curriculum, how to deliver science of reading well. So we're not done with that, but there's been a lot already.
Superintendent Miles, we've spoken with a number of teachers who say they felt that they've been sort of bait and switch. In the beginning, they were offered one price, and then in recent weeks, they've been given a different number that's thousands of dollars lower than the original offer letter. Can you explain what's behind that, and if they will get the price originally given to them in that offer letter?
Yeah, thanks for asking. As I understand it, there were some teachers that got two different offers, and that's a mistake. And to those teachers who did, I apologize. You have heard me say the right information all along, right? So NESA, I said we would do the same salary schedule as the district has been on. That, you go back through your files and you'll see that at the community events and elsewhere, except that you get a $10,000 stipend. NES is different. They are on the hospital model, and that schedule is posted, right? And there's a range. What happened is, as I understand it, and we're still looking into it, some teachers that were NESA got a salary that was on the NES schedule, and that's the problem. So that's a mistake. That should not have happened. I apologize to those teachers for that, but that's the story, and I don't know exactly how many teachers that happened to. Even one is not a good thing.
So just to get it answered fully, they won't get that payment that was originally offered. They will get the corrected, as you're saying, NESA.
Yeah, that's right. They'll get it corrected, because that actually has been what I said and what others have said in the district around what the pay should be. Keep in mind, guys, too, nobody lost any money. That's number one, right? Because you can't go below the salary that was promised to you, and the salary schedule was posted too, the regular salary schedule. And number two, you are getting a $10,000 stipend in the NESA, okay, and in NES, both. So, you know, it's bad when mistakes happen like that, but the money is still pretty good if you work in an NES or NESA school.
Okay. The spectrum is simply with these questions. They say some of the parents are still in the dark about the changes, the modifications, which are happening with the system, given they've had a number of community meetings to become well-versed on this. What do you tell them, you know, at this point? Hopefully they'll see it's going to be okay the very first day of school, and it's all going to be fine. But what will you tell them? And the second part of my question is, are you concerned about any other principals, you know, like key leaders, obviously leaving the department? Yeah, I mean,
you know, we have 273 principals, so that's a lot. And in you know, in any year, you're going to have some movement of principals. So no, I'm not concerned about principals leaving. I think in the last couple of years, we've had more churn. The profession of education has had more churn anyway, but we're prepared for that. We have a principals academy that has already started. So we have 75 people who want to be principals, and they're going to be in training all year to do that. And some might be released early from that. And I'll talk about the parents in a second. Now?
Yes.
All right. So on parents, look, even educators being explained the model, NES and NESA, have a hard time picturing it. In fact, if you talk to some of the principals who went out to Ector, Ector College Prep is designed on an NES model. If you went out to the principals that went out there, many of them came back and said, "Oh, now I get it." Even though we've been training, and I've been talking to the community till I'm, you know, blue in the face on what it means, right? But I get it. You know, it is different. That's not a tweak. I've said that too, and whole-scale reform and all that, and I use those words, and to be fair to people, it's hard to understand what you mean by whole-scale reform or systemic change and things like that. So my word to the parents are these. Look, it'll be okay. In the end of the day, your child is going to go to school. They're going to have an effective teacher. For a child, it won't look much different. I get math class, then I'm going to go to language arts class, then I'm going to have PE or an elective. I might get this will be different. I might get martial arts or piano or something like that. Then I'm going to go to science class. My day is going to start at 8 o'clock if you're elementary, and at 4 o'clock. So for a child, it won't look that much different. I'm hoping the difference will be the quality of the instruction, which they'll just know what the impact is. They won't know how we got there. So parents should feel okay that it's not that different. You still have an effective teacher in front of a child.
Kevin Uzbek, ABC 13. I want to ask specifically about Pew Elementary. We've spoken to a number of parents who don't quite understand why this was put into the NES program. When it's an A-rated school, its STAR test results for the most part exceed HISD averages. So why did you decide to put Pew into the NES program?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, so when we started, we did it by feeder patterns. So the 28 schools, and I think Pew is one of those, is in 3 feeder patterns. If some of you will remember that we started that way. Yeah, and Wheatley is one of those 3, right? So those 3 feeder patterns, North Forest, Kashmir, Wheatley, the concept of new education system should be a line throughout the feeder pattern. And I'll just briefly review for some of you that we could just pick select schools here and there that are D or F status. Wheatley could be one of them, right? Because that was one of the schools challenged and one of the reasons for the intervention. But if you look at the middle schools feeding into some of the high schools, the middle schools are really challenging too. So doing something to, in quotation marks, fix a school is kind of fleeting and not sustainable if you don't address some of the feeder schools. So we did it by feeder pattern. Yes, there were some A and B schools in those feeder patterns, but in any case, the NES program was going to improve the instruction and the outcomes even for those A and B rated schools. Yeah, so special education, we're down to 0 vacancies of special education certified teachers. So they have certifications because in special education they can't run an ARD meeting or a placement meeting without a certification. They can't sign off on an IEP. Last year there were 112 special education certified teacher vacancies at the start of the school year. So the team has been working hard and doing well. I think you're talking about 12, 15 consultants who were removed from their positions. And they don't really have a position, so I'm struggling to find the word, right, because they're consultants. If you know special education, what happens is once you know what your IEPs actually are, you identify new kids, you place them on an IEP, then you determine the number of hours of service a child needs. And then you find it, if you have it among your staff, like OT-PT, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech pathologists. If you don't have enough staff to do that, then you hire out speech pathologists and OT-PT. So that's always been the case. So the 12 out of hundreds of teachers and consultants is a very small number. It has nothing to do with how well we perform. The other thing is, another story is about how we organize. we reorganized special education to push them into the field. We didn't dissolve anything. They were pushed to the units. And when you go to a unit or the division, you're going to see SPED central office people working there. The fact that they're not in Hattie May, does that mean that they're gone? They're gone from Hattie May is the answer. So does that help? I believe it is. Our Stacy Vinson, Deputy Chief of Special Education Services, would have that answer. I think the answer is yes, but how about you don't quote me on that? So, first of all, you can offer a contract and do your initial check without doing the background check, and then we start the background check process right away. The first thing we do is we do the FBI real quick Raptor check, and then we do the rest of the check. We are going to continue to hire. In fact, we have a little overage right now. That's intentional. Most of the NES and NESA schools, for example, have additional teachers. A couple of them, I haven't been reporting that because they're extra. And we will be hiring all year. The fact of the matter is, in any large district, you have churn and you have movement all the time. When I was the superintendent of Dallas, we would lose probably, it sounds like a big number, 200 teachers in the first month. But that's only one per school, because there's 10,000 teachers in Dallas. We have 11,500. We will lose teachers for all kinds of reasons. Health, I don't want to be morbid, but sometimes serious health reasons. Sometimes people find out they can't do this job. Sometimes people just, leave. There's other news stories out there, and you don't have to believe me, from last year of people leaving mid-year across the country. More mobility than ever. So the prudent thing to do would be to overhire. We have a job fair this weekend. And so we're going to be hiring a few more SPED certified teachers. We're going to be hiring a few more hard-to-fill subjects like math and science, so that we won't have as many, a great need for substitute teachers. No offense to subs, but we want, our teachers who are full-time on board. That's why. So the only time that the special ed doors, any doors would be closed, is for a reason that makes sense for the class. For example, there are SPED classrooms where there are runners. If there are runners, then yes, please close the door. I mean, it's an actual term we use for the kids who are often leaving the classroom. So that's fine. If a door opens up to the outside, close that door. And this has been told to the principals. If there's a door right next to the choir room and there's, it's just too loud, then close that door. I mean, so do what makes sense, but there's good reason for having doors open. It's a professional environment. It's one where we are holding ourselves accountable. We're not going to close the door, put the construction paper up over the slit in the room, in the window. Not going to do that. That leads to ineffective teaching, lack of accountability, and actually, some unsafe situations in the classroom. So that's why.
Speaking on the open door policy, there are some parents included teachers saying they have some concerns on safety about that policy. Can you kind of resolve their fears or trepidation there?
Yeah, safety is a system-wide challenge, right, or a system-wide issue, right? It's not just about the doors. It's about the facility being safe. It's the one point of entry. It's about having a vestibule. It's about making sure your police force is readily available. It's about all of those things. The doors in the classroom, if they lock, and they all lock, they can be opened and then they can be shut and then lock automatically. That proves to be a good thing for safety and for instruction. We got to be able to do both. You know, safety is important. We've got what we're here at a safe start. We have police officers around. Safety is important, but so is the quality of instruction and providing the best instruction for kids and providing a system of instruction that's best for kids. So we're going to have to do both, and that's why the doors will stay open.
You know, I spoke, Superintendent, to some parents who their kids are going into an NES school. They were actually in tears. They are so worried that their child's education is now part of an experiment that isn't working yet. To those parents starting this new school year who are very wary about NES, what do you want to say to them?
Yeah, I understand the feeling of the unknown. So that makes sense. But by the way, there's also a lot of parents who are cheering this. They're happy to have NES in their schools. But to those parents, I understand it. That makes sense. That there would be trepidation and anxiety. I told you, even educators have some anxiety about what they don't know. But I would say this: it's not an experiment. This is not an exploration. This is not an experiment. This is well-known practice. There are lots of schools that are already very successful. The data is clear in the state of Texas, not just Colorado, but the data is clear in the state of Texas around these practices. Most superintendents would love to be able to do systemic whole-scale reform because they know that's what needs to be done. So the other thing I would say, too, is, again, the onus is on me and my teams to put their fears to rest. The best way is to go to the school, see what's happening the first day, and like I said, for their child, it's not going to look that different for a child, right? It's going to be, I go to classroom, there's a teacher, and that teacher's going to love on me, challenge me also, and that's my first day of school.
Yeah, just a clarifier about the doors. And I know you've mentioned this all throughout, so this isn't new, but the piece about, does that apply just to NES and NESA, the open doors for every school?
All schools. Thanks for allowing me to clarify.
One quick thing. We have a few teachers who said they're trying to transfer out of NES schools, said they've tried it multiple times to go to other schools within the districts, but they're having difficulties. I know a few of them maybe weren't at some of these community member meetings asking you about that. Is that something that will be resolved before Monday?
Yeah, I don't know that is actually the case. But let me say right now, if they can get a job in a different school in the district and they want to transfer out, we will probably let them do that. I think we'll do that on a case-by-case basis. There are over 1,000 teachers in the NES schools, so having a handful wanting to move is okay. Everybody in an NES school, not NESA, volunteered to do this. Right? Remember, we reconstituted 28 schools. Reconstituted, that means everybody had to reapply for the school, and at that time, there were about 750, 800 vacancies in the district. So I'm sure they would have been able to find a job pretty easily if they wanted to. So volunteered, gone through the training. If in a handful of cases they don't want to be there, that's fine. Then they have to take the commensurate pay in the other schools. No. So you'll recall we started with central office, but not all of central office. So over the year, we're going to assess. Remember, and I'm sorry, I'm repeating for some of you. We're going to assess the other departments that have not been touched. And we're going to be looking at that closely, and then we may announce other cuts in positions this year. Last.
Very quick question. There's a new state law that requires districts to send students who possess vapes to an alternative education program. I'm just curious if HISD is going to comply with that, what that will look like.
We're certainly going to comply with the law. And we are right now looking at the number of seats we have in our DAEP programs. You know we don't have a lot of seats in those programs. The law allows us to do some alternative in-school suspension or something like that. So we will comply with the law. The biggest thing is this. Children who go to DAEP for whatever reason should have high-quality instruction. We should not be sending kids who vape to a place and then give them less than high-quality instruction. So we're going to try to ensure that our children who get sent out of the school for whatever reason, including the House Bill 114, that they receive good instruction. All right. Thank you, everybody.